Oh, yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and talk and drink. I'm Kaiel.
I'm Allie, and we are here to break down the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of this whole wedding industry.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you all for joining us today. We are talking about kind of a fun one today.
Family drama. Save it from your mama.
For your mama, from your mama.
From
yeah.
your mama. I would say from.
We're going to get into some, personal experience, some what we've seen professionally, and just kind of talk about some of the hard stuff of wedding planning, because it's fun to talk about pretty things and DJs and hair and makeup and florals and all of that.
Video,
yes.
And booze and all the good stuff.
All of that. But that's not in reality what wedding planning is all about.
No.
And some of the shit is hard.
It can be,
and not so much fun.
Especially when family gets involved.
Yes.
I feel like family can make it great or make it very difficult or both.
Yeah.
Or make it really sad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's a whole
all of it.
spectrum of dynamics that family kind of brings in. So.
Yeah. And something I've said before on the podcast, but like weddings in general are known to be stressful because they are the, conglomeration. Conglomeration? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah. No, it's
conglomerate. No, that's like a business thing.
Culmination.
We'll fact check that. Of all of like the most crazy stressful parts in life, you're talking about family, you're talking about religion, you're talking about cultural expectations, more money than anyone's ever spent on one day in their whole life. Like, of course, there's bound to be some bumps in the road along the way throughout all of this.
And money always makes things sensitive,
complicated.
Highly sensitive and complicated. 100%. 100%.
Yes.
So where do you want to start?
Well, we can start with the money thing because,
Sure.
I think we touched on it a little bit during our budget episode, but the money and the family and the potential drama that come along with both is a big part of wedding planning. So much like we talked about in the budget episode, talk about it early, talk about it a lot, try to be super clear with your communication because there is just a lot of potential speed bumps along the way that this can cause.
I think going back to what we did talk about in the budget is if family or a friend or whoever it is offering to sponsor a specific vendor, change the conversation into how much would you be willing to put towards this vendor. Yeah. That way you can select which vendor you want ultimately, because sometimes people will want to spend, we'll call it $500 on a DJ, but thanks to Weddings Fucking Uncensored, that most likely you're going to be spending at least a couple grand,
right,
on a good DJ if you want lighting and you want an MC or, you know what I mean? You want all these different things to make it great. It may be more than what the person, family, or friend is willing to put down. So just get the amount and promise them, yes, the money that you're giving me is going towards this vendor that you said you would help with.
And that you feel comfortable with.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, so communicating that and knowing that there are always strings attached when it comes to money. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but like probably how your parents or grandparents or in-laws or whoever is helping you financially with this, probably like how they act during the holidays or, how they have spent money on things in the past and how they've maybe bought you gifts and held things over your head. Or maybe they're overly generous to the point that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like I've experienced that in the past. Like whatever your relationship is with money and generosity and gift giving and like there's so much there. And not just between the people maybe that are sponsoring or helping you, but just between you and your partner. Yeah. Like what does that look like? How do you feel comfortable? Do I feel okay that your parents are paying for this whole thing? What does that mean to me? And I don't think there are any right or wrong answers that we can give you, unfortunately. It's just being able to identify that in yourself and talk about it with your partner. If nothing else, being able to talk about it with your partner. Yeah,
100%. We had just a quick example for Steph and I. We were fortunate enough that her mom helped a lot with the wedding, and one of the things that she also helped with was the DJ. And one of the songs that Stephanie knew her mom was going to ask for was the chicken dance.
Everyone's favorite.
I loathe the chicken dance.
Who doesn't?
I was like, heck no. So when we met up with the DJ, Again, DJ was super important for me, so I still ended up picking the DJ. But on the list of songs of do not plays, Chicken Dance was absolutely on there. But because mom was helping, it was only if her mom asked for this particular song is the only time you are allowed to play the Chicken Dance.
Yes.
Guess what we fucking heard on the wedding day?
You
the
heard
goddamn
the
chicken dance.
Did you go along with it?
I think I did for like 15 seconds, and then I was like, I can't.
You can't.
I can't anymore.
Oh,
but
you're such a dick.
But it was, but it's true. But it is, again, that's just one of the examples of.
Yes.
I knew she was helping out financially, and there's no way that because she's obviously contributing a lot that I'm gonna say no to.
No, and honestly, like. That's going to come up a lot, right? Yep. What are the hills that you are going to die on that you are like, if this song is played at my wedding, it will ruin my whole experience? Or will you be like, okay, it's 2 minutes that no one's even really going to remember when they think about this day, but it's going to mean so much to my mom. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe that's something that you give her, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
When I got married, I kind of a non-traditional gal with non-traditional family things, really wanted to walk down the aisle alone. That was what I wanted to do. It was really important to me. But my mom was like, I want to walk you down the aisle, hell-bent on walking me down the aisle. It meant the world to her. Mm-hmm. And I was willing to give her do that. And like, if you look at the pictures, like her smile is so fucking big. And like, she's so happy. And like, at the end of the day, that was a big thing for me. I mean, that's obviously, that's not like even just a song played or whatever, but it was worth it to me to give that to her. Even though I maybe wasn't my first choice. So there's always going to be a compromise or something. And, there may be something that is your hill you're going to die on. Like, this is not something I'm willing to compromise on. But so talk about that, because if,
let
dad,
it out now.
Yeah. And if dad's paying and dad's not going to understand, then you better talk about it early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause you don't want to have the issues of, well, I'm just not going to go to your wedding. And then there's that whole, can of worms right there.
Yeah.
Who do you invite and who do you not invite? And now someone says they are going to go, but you hurt their feelings, or their feelings got hurt.
Yeah.
And now they're deciding, do I go or not? It's just a whole lot. So just having the awkward and somewhat confrontational conversations just right there and then you got to hash through it. You got to
make it awkward, baby.
Just make it awkward,
But it is better. I mean, that's like a life lesson, right? Like, it's so much better to be honest and talk about the hard shit than have to deal with it later on. It's only going to multiply.
Yeah, I have learned just from outside experience. Again, I'm not a therapist by any means, but usually I handle, and I've learned that whoever I'm talking to about this awkward thing is, if I bring it up super casually, the conversation stays kind of casual. So maybe just try to keep it casual of like, I don't know, you're eating and you're hanging out with mom and it's like, oh, hey, mom, just by the way, real quick, just wanted to let you know, I found a perfect dress. Any help that you wanted to help financially, I would absolutely love it. And just keep it at that, and just trying to downplay everything, downplay the things that are really important to you so that,
Yeah. No, I think that can be good advice, but I think it kind of ties into another thing we wanted to touch on, which is like managing expectations and like knowing your family, right? Yeah. Like, if mom is a narcissist and is going to make the whole fucking day about her, which I just recently had a call with a client who was like, this is the thing. Like, I'm laying it out there, like full, and she's not going to change just because it's your wedding, right?
True.
If your maid of honor, who's your sister, is a fucking flake and is late to everything, she's going to be a flake and late to everything for your wedding.
Don't expect it to change.
Don't expect it to change. Yeah. So if your family is kind of non-confrontational and doesn't really talk about stuff, then you're right. Like, that is probably a good way to go about it, is like, keep it casual. Like, how do I, kind of relate? Like, they're not going to act in a different way. So I think that that's important, is like, whether it's your family, whether it's your wedding party, right? You have your old college buddy that you really want to include, but like he's kind of a shit show. Like, he's gonna be a shit show on the day. So don't change, your thoughts or expectations based on the fact that you're just getting married.
Yeah. And I just thought about something. Maybe there's like a threshold that every couple should kind of have of how much they're willing to not do what they want to do. Yeah. And if it gets past that point, while planning,
Yeah.
before stuff is booked, while planning, if there's just honestly, there's too much stuff that the whole family or whoever it is just going to be too hectic.
Yeah.
Maybe just don't have a larger wedding and maybe go elope.
Weddings Uncensored, where we just encourage you to go
Yo,
elope.
I'm just, but I'm being serious though.
No, yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm sure that there's plenty of people and already married couples
100%.
that would have that have gone through the process and then later they're just like, man, that was a lot.
That was not worth it.
It was not worth it. We should have just fucking eloped in Bali,
Absolutely.
or Hawaii.
Oh my God.
or
I actually
something.
just had a client who there were like deposits paid. Everything was like pretty well planned for the fall. And they canceled it because they were like, it just doesn't feel like us. Yeah. This is just too much. It's too much work. It's causing too many rifts in the family. So yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's something that you just talk about early on. Like you said, set those rules, like prioritize, like all the stuff that we talk about in all of our episodes. Setting expectations, managing who's going to be there and what that's going to be like for you and what that experience is going to be like. Because I mean, I think what's important to remember too about this day is like people put this whole fucking pressure on this and like, it's got to be the best day of your life. It's going to be the best day of your life. It's going to be it may not be the best day of your life.
It should be a lot of fun.
It should be. It should be a great day.
It shouldn't really be the best day ever either,
No.
because you're not seeing the person that you're getting married to until like, I don't know, 60% of the day is over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope listeners and viewers that you have other better days in your life other than your wedding day. It's true. No, but like there's, you really get caught up in this shit, especially when you're in the planning process, right? And your Instagram feed is now filled with, all of these ridiculous accounts that you'll never live up to. And, people are asking you questions nonstop. And it's all the whole fucking topic of conversation with your partner and with your family all the time. Like you get down this rabbit hole of wedding planning and it's got to be the best day of my life. So take that pressure off of yourself. Give yourself some grace, give your family some grace, give your partner some grace, and know that like things are going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Whew.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It really is a lot though to take in though. Family is no joke. Family is no joke. And it's definitely the hardest conversations you will have will most likely be with family because it's involving money. Yeah. It's involving what they want. It's involving what you want. And most likely a lot of those things won't coincide together, you know? So it can be.
And I think that's a lot of stuff during the planning and during the like pre-process, right? Of like, communicating and setting expectations and managing people. But on the day, I think there's also some things that you can do to sort of help with that. We talk about like with timelines and hair and makeup, like setting the tone for the day and making sure things are as zen as possible for you, or setting whatever tone you really want for like your day. So I think when you're kind of thinking about your day and setting up the flow or where you're going to be or who's going to be around you, like how can you manage that? Like just because most people have their mom with them in the room while they're getting ready doesn't mean that you have to have your mom with you in the room while you're getting ready. Yeah. That could cause you way more strife than like it's worth, If you have the budget to hire a planner or a coordinator, like use them. I always tell my clients, I don't have to see these people at Thanksgiving. Yeah. I don't fucking care. I'll be the bad guy. Like, it's all good. You have to deal with these people for the rest of your life. This is the last time I'm ever going to see these motherfuckers. I don't care. So, let the planner be the bad guy, or whatever vendor.
Or your photo video team. Yes. I will happily be, I have been that vendor of like, hey, mom, we're going to go over here for a little bit and come hang out. You want a quick photo? You want to, do something over here? Yeah. Because I can already see the bride or the groom, whoever it is, already stressed out. Yeah. Or I've had the situations even last year where something happened between the bride and the mom. Bride was crying. Mom is just pissed off and livid. She storms out of the room. Like, she's off. She's not watching her kid that she said she was going to watch. And now bride can't get ready. And she's crying. Yeah. Bridesmaids, this is their first wedding. So they don't know what the fuck to do. So it was a whole lot. So, in that
if you have to step in,
Yeah, exactly. I had to.
Maybe it's your bridesmaids. Maybe it's a cousin. Like, think about the parts of the day that are going to end up being the most stressful. So maybe that's family photos. I mean, we talk a lot about how family photos can end up being really stressful. You know, how can you assign people? There are people that want to help, right? Like throughout the planning process, people will be like, how can I help? What can I do? Well, guess what? Yeah, actually, you can really help by managing the family photo section so that I don't have to call my drunk uncle and get him over here. And grandma, she's always not paying attention, and like help me wrangle those people, or whatever it is throughout the day. Like, tell the rest of your bridesmaids about your, flaky maid of honor, and please lie to her and tell her everything starts 30 minutes earlier than it does so that she's on time. Whatever it is, like try to foresee these red flags before they become actual problems. Yeah. And then, 100%. Workshop how to like solve it from being an issue.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think too of on the wedding day, what are things that you have seen that any bridesmaid, groomsmen can help with family dynamics? Because sometimes I know that, like the vendor, the bridal party has a little bit more wiggle room because they have a little bit more rapport with the family. Yeah. Is there anything that the bridesmaids and groomsmen might be able to help out with the family dynamics at all?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of the same idea. Like the folks that really know your family, like probably know like the triggers or like the key points where they become issues. So it's figuring out how to either avoid those things, or like when this happens, I know my mom will inevitably have too many gin and tonics, and A, B, and C will happen. Like, assign your bridesmaid to kind of handle that or whatever. But I think it's like setting up your day, and please be honest with your planner. I will say from so many years of seeing so many things, people getting in fights, like physical fights, people getting arrested at weddings, like people having screaming matches, moms storming out, brides crying. Like there's been an endless amounts of drama that I've seen over the years. So, just tell your planner, tell your wedding party, whatever it is, because we can help if we can, or at least we can stay, and tell your photographer, tell everybody we can try our best to minimize the issues when they come up.
And something that Steph and I will do when we have any of our couples is we'll ask, is there any weird family dynamics that we need to be aware of? So if you have booked your photo video team, please let them know ahead of time. That way, if you want a picture with, or the photographer wanted a picture with all like your side of the parents and the other side of the parents taking a picture together, that you're not having divorced people that hate each other standing next to each other and force a smile. Yes. That's very awkward. I've done that.
Oh my God, especially photo video. I have had a dad like scream at me at a rehearsal before, because he was like, we were, seating everybody, and he was like, why would you put me next to my ex? Why would I ever sit next to my ex-wife? And I like, what the fuck? First of all,
I didn't know this.
Didn't know. Second of all, grow up. Yeah. Grow the fuck up. Like, if you can't pull it together 40 years later for your daughter's wedding, like, this is a much bigger issue above my pay grade, baby. And I'm not dealing with this stuff. But yeah, please let people know. The divorce thing. Oh my God. You'd think that people would be able to just get over that shit, but they can't.
No. And without getting too specific, Steph and I had a lot of issues with our my in-laws. They still don't get along. Yeah. So that added its own kind of like whirlwind of how the heck do we manage and handle all this. Yep. So the more that you can let the vendors, the planner, your friends, the bridal party, let them know ahead of time, the more collective everyone else will be like on the same team and helping you not freak the fuck out about what's going on on the wedding day when shit does hit the fan. So. Yeah.
And I think we talk a lot about like, not doing tradition for tradition's sake, and like having this wedding be about you and what you want. And that's all true to a certain extent, but you're probably, if it were really up to you, you wouldn't be having this wedding just for you and your partner. You're probably doing it for your family, to make people happy. Maybe there's certain religious or cultural aspects of the day that you're including that you wouldn't include, whatever. So like I said about my mom walking me down the aisle, or for me, I have a complicated parent situation, and the idea of a father-daughter dance just did not resonate with me. It was not going to happen. But my dad was there in attendance. My mom walked me down the aisle, and we, instead of doing all of those like mother-son, father-daughter dances, we just did one big family dance where it was parents, step-parents, siblings, everybody, and we just danced to like Jackson 5, and it was like fun and upbeat and whatever. So I think there's ways that you can find compromises and kind of navigate like which of those traditions you still want to include, which ones mean something to your parents, which ones mean something to you guys, but that feels awkward, like whatever. And know that like you can think outside the box and hopefully find some solutions to those. It's not always easy, and it's not all going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's not all going to shake out in the way that you had hoped originally.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's so hard because part of me is like, do whatever you want and stick to it. But then part of me is also like, well, if you're also having this wedding for other people, you got to find the balance.
Yeah.
Find the balance in what you can handle, what you can't handle, what you do want, what you don't want.
Yeah.
And you're getting married to somebody else, and you're joining them into the craziness of your family and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think it's also good to have consistent check-ins with your spouse, soon-to-be spouse, you know, and kind of check in and just say like, hey, how's it going? Like, how are you doing with my crazy side of the family or your crazy side of the family, whatever it might be, because if you two aren't on the same page and it's literally it is your wedding day and you're not having a good time and one is not having a good time, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Communication.
For real, 100%. And obviously, all the vendors, we will do our part. They should be doing their part to make sure that your wedding day is going off without a hitch and you're having a blast.
Yeah.
You're having a hype videographer. You're having a hype photographer, so.
Do you have like a nightmare family story, like not from your own wedding, or you could like say it since somebody else's wedding, but it could actually be for your own?
Well, let's see. I did explain the one where the bride and the mom got into a fight and she was bawling.
There's a lot of tears. I feel like that's like actually common. So like know that.
Yeah, I mean it's
like 2 weeks ago I just had a bride that had to redo her whole makeup after it was done because she was crying because of her family.
Yeah. Okay, well, I would say maybe not necessarily the nightmares, but some practical things that I have seen other couples do. One was yours. You're talking about the dance situation. I think that has applied to a lot of couples that I have seen where one person and their dad or mom or whoever it was or whoever raised them wasn't on the same page, right? Or they weren't kosher at the time. So they just kept it open of like, this is a group first dance. Yeah. So I have seen that has been.
Yeah, I think the father-daughter, mother-son dance can be really triggering for a lot of people.
Or especially for family
someone passed away. Yes, that happens a lot.
Huge. Because I mean, it's okay to have like obviously your moment to remember someone that isn't here.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be like depressed all night long because someone isn't there. I'm sure that whoever has passed wants you to enjoy your wedding. They want you to have fun. So
find a way to
enjoy it,
honor them, and include them in some way, whatever feels good to you. But yeah, you don't have to do anything if it makes you feel icky and uncomfortable.
Yeah. 100%. Let's see. I have had a bride that she hated the dress that the mom got her. Absolutely hated it. But what she did do, what she was okay with doing, is she wore that dress for the ceremony at the church. And then as soon as the ceremony was done and the family photos were done, she changed into the dress that she wanted for the reception. Yeah. And she wore that, whenever we got to the reception. So that's been one thing where again, it's whatever you can tolerate.
Right, exactly.
It's still your pictures at the end of the day.
Yes, so, finding compromises. I have a couple right now that's talking to me about how there's like they have like the grandma and grandpa on one side, and then they have a grandma and like a step grandpa on the other side, and like no one likes step grandpa. Oh, okay. And they're like, how do we include step grandpa, but still like they don't want to make step grandpa feel like he's on the same level as like regular grandpa, like they don't want to be honored in the same way.
But we don't love you.
So we're finding like an alternate job for him to still feel like he's included, but like in their mind, he's not honored on the same level.
I see.
Because a lot of it is like your perspective on the situation too, right? Like my dad is not close with me. I can say all what I want because I'm sure he's not listening to this shit. He did a reading during my ceremony. So he was still involved.
Yeah.
I felt like
He
he
had
had a
something.
moment. But, you know, he didn't walk me down the aisle and it was a whole thing. So for me, that made me feel better. It made him feel better. Like, whatever, like find that thing. I had, the weirdest, well, this wedding was so crazy in general. Like when I tell all my like wedding horror stories, it's from this wedding. But it was a pretty small wedding, maybe like 50 guests or something. And it was held at like a really fine dining restaurant because the couple was very into food. And so they imagine at this restaurant, they had like 5 tables set for 12, but there was only like 10 people sat at each table. So there was 2 empty seats at each one. So that each course of the meal, the bride and groom could go and sit at each table and enjoy some of the meal with the guests, right? Cool. Like cool
That's a
idea.
good idea.
It was super cool.
But
Mom decided, well, that sounds good. I want to do that too. I should also go and sit with every table during dinner. So but, without telling anybody, without telling the planner or the bride and groom, she just followed the bride and groom like one step behind, doing the exact same thing that they did and trying to enjoy each like course with the people.
Man.
And oh my God, they were so mad, so fucking pissed. This cunt making the day all about her. But like, you know, so what do you do? And what, as the planner, what do? I check in with the bride. I ask her not to do that. I say, ma'am, I need you to stay in your seat. Like, this is where that kind of communication thing comes in handy and knowing, and maybe they didn't anticipate that was going to happen. But, you know, because the bride was very open with me on that day, we were able to kind of like squash it before it became a bigger issue. So there's some wild cards that can pop up too that like you don't even know how it's going to feel. And you may not know how you're going to feel about a situation until it happens, until you're faced with that moment or that emotion or like whatever. I could not believe how many people gave a fuck about me walking down the aisle thing. I was like, I'm walking alone. Done. Like decision made. Like it should not even be a conversation. And everybody had so much to say about that. Like it's crazy, you know? So yeah, it's a wild journey, this wedding planning process.
Yeah. Something with the family that I did remember too is gentle reminders of keeping their speeches somewhat short.
Oh God.
Your response right now was perfect because I know we have had, and I'm sure you have been to a wedding where the family was talking way too much, talking way too long.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there has been, I know on the top of my head, 3 different weddings where the parents on each side gave a speech, and let's call it my end time was supposed to be 9:00. Speeches started at 8:30.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be like, 10-minute speeches and then formal dances or something like that. It was a later wedding, but yeah, I was supposed to end at 9. I didn't end until like 9:30, which may not be a big deal to some people, but for the couples that I know don't want to pay for the extra hour.
And that's cutting into your dancing time and whatever.
That's going to affect what you see on video because the last clip is going to be mom giving a 30-minute speech.
Well, I like to tell people that this is a toast, not a speech.
Yes. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah,
because
exactly.
Speech implies something kind of long,
sure.
right? Or like something kind of grand. And a toast implies something short. So I try to remind people of that as well.
Of like, maybe keep it 4 paragraphs at max.
Yeah.
Speeches
are another thing that can get kind of tricky because like, very traditionally when you think about weddings, like the bride's family is paying for everything and they are the ones that kind of give a speech. You think of like the father of the bride saying something, but that is not reality for like most of my couples that are getting married right now. So, that kind of falls under that same category of like, what traditions do we feel like we need to do? What ones, matter to my dad?
Yeah.
What will, maybe your dad, I've had so many people, especially like people's parents don't speak English as their first language or whatever. They're like very uncomfortable with the idea of giving a speech. Like, don't make them give a speech.
Yeah, if they don't want to, don't fucking force them.
No. So there's so much to think about. And so this is probably like maybe made you feel even more confused about certain parts of family drama. But I think what we hope to make you feel from this episode is that you're not alone.
Yeah.
This is mostly complicated and mostly an issue for almost every single couple. Like if you're one of the few skating by with a happy, supportive, rich family, Congrats.
Don't even listen to this episode.
But more than likely, you've got some shit, you've got some baggage, and that's okay. And you will figure it out and you will navigate it. But don't be afraid to talk about it, and don't be afraid to support and reach out to your partner.
Yeah.
And Godspeed.
Godspeed. Also, I would say at least photo video planning, ask those vendors, hey, this is the dynamic. Is there anything that we can do to help maneuver these people or this person or this group, whoever it might be? Because we've been at a lot of weddings, you know, you're hiring professionals. We've probably have seen it all. Yeah. So I would say just ask. Yeah. Ask us.
Talk to your vendors. Yeah. We're here to help.
See if because we don't care. We just want to have a good time. We want you to have a good time.
We don't have to see these people at Thanksgiving.
Nope. Cheers.
Cheers on that note.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. You held up the drink real quick. Oh, okay. Cheers.
See you next Tuesday.
Peace. Take a fucking drink. Every time we cheers, you don't take a drink. Thank you.